I'm actually about to just go ahead and start, so if you want to close the door, then that'll work. Yep. No worries. So, welcome to the 2 o'clock panel. It is now 2:10. So, you are in the fourth session of the four-session Jawa build. In the previous days, which we'll recap just momentarily, we had done work with the robe and with the hood and in the planning and understanding the CRL, the standards for 501st Legion and Rebel Legion membership using a Jawa costume. Today we'll be kind of focusing mostly on building the mask, which is kind of the other big element. In the session on costume weathering that immediately follows this, we'll actually be doing some of the weathering for the bandolier that goes with the Jawa. So if you feel like sticking around for that, we'd love to have you. If not, we understand there's many things to see and do. So with that, I've posted on the board here a QR code that points to a document which has a bunch of links in it to the things that I have mentioned or talked about throughout the course of this session and the other sessions. The costume electronics, the hard part weathering, things like that. So anything where I mention a product that I have used or someone has asked about, hey, what's that thing you used, or how much does that cost, or what I've tried to put in here. It's a growing document, so over the course of, say, the week, it'll get bigger and hopefully will contain links to some of the videos from these sessions, either what Rebel Scum Con has been recording or what our own photographer has been recording. And, so we can enjoy these again and again and again. Or not. Personal preference. So again, what we did previously involved starting with the robe, and as I kind of copped to yesterday, we made a mistake. I made a mistake, not we, because y'all had nothing to take responsibility for. The head hole is a little large. Now the hood itself will cover a lot of sins. I'm not sure it covers this much sin. So this would be a redo or a repurpose for me to put onto somebody else or find someone with extraordinarily broad shoulders and make them an outsized hood. But they would have to be very slender as well, so I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Brigitte Nielsen needs a Jawa costume. But we'll reach out for people and find out. Also, overnight last night in the hood session, I had demonstrated some of the seams, and then in order to get to the important parts, which is how the back of the mask or the hood goes together, and some of the other stuff, I had left parts unfinished. I went ahead and finished this last night. So this is what a finished hood ends up looking like. You've got the nice long tails with the hems on each side. You've got the wire inside the front edge to help it hold its shape. The seam is on the back, not the top. And so if you put this on, you end up with and it goes around the back, simple overhand knot, drapes down the back. One Jawa hood. No waiting. So that is what we ended up with through yesterday's sessions. So today we will finish the mask that hides the face and kind of continues the mystery. And that's where we'll start forthwith. So the primary base of the mask is going to be something like this. It doesn't have to be a Halloween hockey mask. It can be, I know people who use grinder shields or anything that kind of allows you to cover it in black fabric and have it wear it in front of your face. This is not super comfortable on its own. The elastic's cheap. The nose is a little shallow, so if you've got a big nose like me, it's going to press against your nose the entire time. Folks who have done this sort of mask have put padding around the eyes to kind of give them a little foam relief, a little craft foam kind of relief, the spongy, fairly firm spongy foam. But the important parts on this are going to be where the eyes holes are. They should be, you should be able to see out of it. And basically that kind of covers the whole face. And what we'll do as we go through this, we'll show you how to keep the eye holes able to be seen out of without giving away the fact that there are human eyes behind there, where to place these eyes, and then how to apply the rest of the black fabric to kind of cover the whole thing and give you the kind of look you're looking for. Before we start with that, we'll go ahead and prepare the eyes. And In the earlier session, actually in the first session, we had started painting these items. These are submersible pool lights from Michaels. I believe you can find them at michaels.com, and that is one of the links I will try and put in the document as to how to find them. You can find them a lot of times in a local Michaels, but they are, the important part is that you find the circular dome. There's some that have almost a faceted jewel style dome. Those don't work as well because they're going to have corners and isn't going to look as nice and uniform and glowy. The other thing we talked about is that you can use these kind of as they are. They just twist and it turns on the battery and you end up with this glowing. But you'll notice there's a giant hot spot there. It's very much brighter in the center than it is anywhere else around it. And that's a problem because the whole eye itself is supposed to glow. You're not supposed to see any kind of discernible difference across the surface of the eye. What I do to solve that is I replace the LEDs. Another thing you can do, which we're not going to do here, but you could apply some of the same paint you used on the dome, which is on the inside of the dome so that nothing scratches off as you use the costume, is to paint the actual LED itself with that same paint. That'll dim it down a little bit and reduce that hot spot. Another thing you can do is take a light cotton ball kind of thing, and fluff it out and kind of stuff the inside. And again, that'll diffuse the light and give you a much more like a glow sort of effect. And the combination of those two things can probably get you to a point where it's going to be uniform enough to pass muster. Like I said, in my experience, I'm kind of a perfectionist that way, and I like tinkering with things, and so I replace the LEDs. And the LEDs I replace them with should be here, and if they are not, I'm going to have to go rummaging in my box. So let me go do that. So the LEDs I use are just they're kind of meant to be a 12-volt LED. If that doesn't mean anything to you, that's okay. But they're quite a bit larger than the LED that comes with the, let's see if we can kind of switch over to the camera view real quick. Oh, hey, let's get that file manager out of the way. And you can kind of see the difference in those two LEDs. One's quite a bit larger and also a lot murkier, would be the word I would use maybe, because I can't think of another one at this moment. And essentially, these are designed to run on 12 volts. We'll run them off of 6 volts, so they aren't going to be as bright as they ordinarily would be, so again, contributing to the glow. But they're also kind of naturally diffuse. There's no one central part of it. So it just kind of produces a glow kind of on its own. So in combination with the paint job we did on the inside of the eye shell, it'll produce that nice glow. So what we'll do is jump right into drilling out 2 of these and replacing them with the LED. And I can already, and these actually do come with batteries, by the way. So that's a very nice thing, is that you already have the batteries that you're going to use for them, and those batteries will fit in this little battery box, which is what I'll also add is one battery box to turn them on instead of having to rotate each eye individually, turn it on and then turn it off. And these are meant to strap onto your kids when you go to a pool party at night, and when they fall in the pool, you can kind of see where they're at and go get them real quick. So it's literally what they're for.
Are they really?
Yes.
They were for like floral arrangements, like to float.
No.
Yeah.
It's
Probably multi-use.
probably multi-use, yeah. So, well, it's more of an assistive device. It's like let's go ahead and save a couple seconds by not having to locate where the kid is in the pool. I'll just look for the light. So all I do with the first step is just remove the LED, and that involves, and I'll show you again on the second one that I have to do, is there's a little wire there. You pull that out and straighten it out because it goes through a hole in the bottom of the rim there. There's one in the center, and those are just basically to kind of contact the batteries, which just stack in the case, and just pull it on out. And you don't really need those. If you have a use for 6-volt white LEDs, you can certainly use them for something else if you're of that bent. But you're done with those for the moment. And so then what I'll do is this is what they call a Forstner bit, and it's meant to kind of take off small layers of material in a very circular pattern, so it gives a very clean hole, is what it does, instead of like a normal spiral bit that kind of chews things up as it goes. For the thin kind of plastic here, this at least cuts the circle first and then starts shaving off the plastic, and so you don't end up destroying the plastic nearly as badly. But you know, you're just basically looking for a Forstner bit that's at least as wide as the LED in question. So those are about the same diameter. And then you'll just hang on. Make sure I'm in the forward direction, and I'll do this on a block, and I'll trust that my hands are going to be enough to hold this because I've done this a bunch of times. But if you're doing it at home, I feel like I have to say, from a safety point of view, clamp it down. And if you have access to a drill press, even better. There we go. And as you can see, it's easy to get away from you if you're not expecting it. And hey, I'm doing it right in front of the microphone, so you're getting the whole experience. There we go. See, there's one of them. And a bunch of schnitzels to take care of between sessions. That'll be awesome. And second one. And as much as we held it before, we'll hold it even tighter this time. Do it. So end up with 2 enlarged holes. Then all we do is run the LED into it, like so. And if you want to, you can take a dab of hot glue and just trying to secure it in there. Just make sure it doesn't slide out on you. Although the construction of the item itself will really kind of lend itself to that sort of thing. And I wonder if I put the general purpose bits into the kit over there. I wonder. So I'm going to give that glue just a slight chance to cure while I vamp for time here, and think to myself what I'm going to do about the hole in the back of the case. So, okay, those should have set nicely enough. So now at this point we're left with these cases, if you will. And there is a little ring inside which is used to connect the battery to the LED. You can just pull it out with a pair of pliers. And we'll do that again. Not really using the right tool, but I'm also trying to reduce the tool proliferation up here on the board. So I'm being a little extemporaneous, we'll say. And so then, in this case, we'll actually use the knife to, there's actually, I don't know if you can see it, but I will try and show it to you. There's a little hole kind of at the top of this little clip that's kind of indented in there. You can actually drill that out, and that's where the wires would come back out the back side. And that's kind of the most convenient place to actually have that work. And let's see if I can get this done with the X-Acto knife, however, real quick. So about right there. It's really not that thick a plastic at that point, so it's certainly doable, but it's also not very good for my X-Acto knife. But I think we're going to make it work. I can see light, so we did something right. By the way, kids, don't do what I just did at home. Do not try to clear your knife with your fingertips. And especially since I managed to nick myself with a very sharp rotary tool that I wanted to warn everyone about in the first session. You'd think I would have learned this weekend, but you know, old habits, even bad ones, die hard. And I still have all 10 fingers, so apparently I feel like I'm leading a charmed life or something. So again, do as I say, not as I do. Although I'm demonstrating things, so perhaps maybe I'm feeling a little hypocritical at this point. All right, so we've got a hole, and we can try and enlarge it somewhat. Again, not exactly the right tool for the job, but it'll get the point across. And so then we'll throw the wires on through as much as we can. And pull that one through. And see about that one maybe coming through as well. Maybe not. Nope, we need to widen it just a little bit more. So let's be a little more forceful with our cuts. Notice how I'm including you in this. You're my co-conspirators. So when I say let's, we're all going to accept the responsibility for wherever this goes. So I hope you're on board with that. It's a journey we're on together. I am your guide, but in the end, it's all of us. So, all right, so that is nice and wide. And I will probably only do one of these for illustrative purposes because this is really taking a lot more time than I thought it should have. All right, so now we've got enough space for 2 wires to go through, and we'll try and make 2 wires go through. I thought there was enough space for 2 wires to go through. There should be. Okay, let's really make sure that they're friends and buddies going in at the same time. All right, and so do we have any questions or perhaps any trivia we want to start with? Oh, great giveaway mistress of the event.
All right, I've got a couple of Ewok-specific ones.
Ooh, staying on theme.
They're really hard, and or at least I would think they are. Maybe you guys just know. Apparently, the fighting style of the Ewoks in the movie Return of the Jedi was based on actual guerrilla tactics by a certain group. Does anybody know who that was? The Viet Cong.
Nice.
Good job.
All right, well, we have a strong start. And in the meantime, we've played for enough time that I might be able to get these wires through again. So, well, at least this time one of them's trying to come through a little better. All right, so the struggle is real, friends. The struggle is real. There we go. 2 wires all the way through. And then all we do is just punch it down. Everything looks about like it did before, except with a larger LED. So we take one of our domes, and we go ahead and we can tighten this all the way down now because it's not actually turning on anything on or off. That's going to be a job for our battery box, which we have over here, in which we will commence to wiring right now, just for illustrative purposes. Go ahead and clean up those ends, and then strip them. And by the way, if you do any amount of electronics work with small diameter wires, this is amazing. It is a wire stripper, and all you do is you just feed the wire in, squeeze the handle, and perfectly trimmed wire and stripped down to the length you specify. So you can actually specify a different length for a longer tail or a shorter length for a shorter tail. And you end up with ends of your wire that are nice and ready to be mated to the other end of your... Now the question is, are these wires differentiated in any way? Otherwise, this could be a short trip. All right, so I think we're going to go with the screw around and find out method. So, and basically throw the batteries in there. So if I were doing this correctly, I would have a voltmeter, and I would check to see which one read positive and which one read negative. Since I am not, I'm going to trust that at the voltages we're dealing with, I'm not going to burn out my LED. And so I can just simply touch the leads together and see which one actually lights the LED. So, think I can say with some safety that that's not it, so it must be the other. Unless I've managed to just burn the LED out. There we go. Okay, so that's what we want to connect. So brown wire to this wire. Go ahead and strip this wire off a little more. And actually, let's be a little more. Okay, don't you move. So again, what we would do if we had all the time in the world and weren't trying to make sure we were making a good use of our audience's time, we would use a heat gun to heat shrink these covers over the exposed wire so you didn't have a short. In this case, what I will do is go ahead and feed the wire through. We'll make the solder joint, and then I'll slide the cover over it and try to seal it using the soldering iron, which is also another source of heat and has worked in the past for me. But given that it's this weekend and I am me and things are going the way they're going, I'm not going to place any bets on that. So go ahead and clean off our tip and apply a little heat and a little solder. Just kind of solder those wires together. Doesn't take a lot of time or effort on that. Hardest part on that is making sure that the soldering iron doesn't fall off the end of the world. And just cover it over like that. And we'll prepare the other lead as well. Go ahead and turn this off while we do this wiring. And there we go. And again with the sleeve. Again with the twist. So there have been days when I've made probably 6 sets of these in a row. It gets a little tedious, I'll be honest. But it's also not bad. A little zen break in your day. Just, oh, I'm twisting. Oh, I'm soldering. Oh, I'm heat sealing, you know. So you may or may not find it as relaxing as I do, but that's okay. All right, one more real quick connection. There we go. That's all that takes. Then we'll slide the heat shrink over it. And well, so there are some things you've got to watch out for. You want to try and make sure that you're actually heating the wire that you are soldering and not just the solder. If you let the solder flow over cold wire, it produces what's called a cold joint, which will hold for a little bit, but it's not very secure, and it will eventually fail. And so the conventional wisdom is that you should be heating your wire and your contact point with the iron and then touching the solder to it and letting it melt the solder and letting the solder flow. Now sometimes, I'm better at that than other times, but I also try to not put a lot of stress on my solder joints by doing things like gluing them places so they don't move around a lot. So if we did everything right, yay.
Yay.
And as you can see, and as I will demonstrate here kind of side by side, there's a marked difference in how these eyes look. This one definitely glows. This one definitely has a pupil. So, and that's why I tend to prefer this style. So now that we've got the eyes, we can work on where they need to go on the mask. And let me go ahead and grab that mask, which I should never have placed so far away from me. And the standard placement for the eyes, and we'll go ahead and use any of these, is actually right below your eyes and roughly at the same spacing. So we would want to put them right about there and there. And that is because the Jawa's eyes don't sit where human eyes sit. They sit a little lower. And that, if you look at the CRL, that's specifically to make them look more alien. So, because their eyes are in the center of their face, not closer to the top like we are. So what we'll do is we will just cut out a notch underneath the eye, about the same size as this little clip on the back, the thing you would attach to your kid before they go in the pool. This will we'll create a little notch about that size, and then that's where we'll put the eye, and then we'll use the piece we take out of the mask to slide into that notch to kind of lock it in place, and then we'll hot glue it so that it doesn't slide around. But that'll allow us to secure our eye fairly effectively. So again, using a sharp implement carefully. These masks are usually not so well built that they give you a lot of resistance for this sort of thing. But there's a point where you're going to have to kind of poke through, and so that is a dicey operation. It can be, and can certainly give you a bit of an issue if you're not careful and not watching what you're doing. Luckily, I'm a professional. Oh, good. Lightning didn't strike. I'm safe. So, and then again, we'll kind of force our way through. And once you're through, you can kind of coax the knife along the plastic, or just kind of let it break along a certain line. Also works. In this case, I'm going to try and correct it just slightly because I don't need that deep a hole. And it's not really super important about the size or the width of the hole. You don't want it to be too much, simply because then you have to work a little harder to place the eye. But so again, we'll just kind of go through there and slide. All right, and I believe, oh hey, blade came out. I'll need to replace that and secure it. But in the end, what you end up with, and my friends the clippers will help me here, get in there and clip out that corner, and then clip these ends here, like so. Okay, can't quite brute force it. There we go, there's the clip. All right, and then we'll take the shell, and actually we're gonna need to widen this. So time to reassemble the knife. And, okay, let's loosen it first. There's an order to these things, you know. All right, blade, twist, tighten, and then I'll just shave along the edge of the opening a little bit, give myself a little more room. And that one, again, I'm moving my own hand out of the way. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
So, and then at that point, that clip will fit in there, just kind of like that. And then we can take our removed piece, and when we eventually install these permanently, we can slide it back in there and glue that so it doesn't move around, and then that's going to give us a kind of a positive lock of that eye, and so that eye is not going to move on us, and that's in about that right spot. It could stand to be slightly lower than where it is, but we've got enough that we can see out of to go from there. So speaking of that, now that we've got that one side done, I will, again for expedience sake, because I want to show you new things as opposed to repeating a bunch of old things, we'll go to how to see out of the mask itself. And for that we'll use two different types of cloth, which I showed you a little bit earlier. The one we'll use for around the eyes is this sheer kind of, they call it speaker cloth in some cases, or it's kind of a sheer black cloth. As you can see, even though I put it in front of the camera, it's still very see-throughable. So what we'll do is we'll cut smaller pieces of it, and glue them to the inside of the mask. Actually, take that back, to the outside of the mask. Just so that when we cover it with the other black fabric, there are no gaps that are noticeable. And so we'll just take we don't need a lot of it, we just need a couple square inches of the fabric. So just lay that out there and grab the aforementioned rotary tool that caused all the problem earlier. Let's go ahead and put that on the table so I don't have to try wrangling it while I try cutting it. Process improvement, it's a thing. All right, so, and then we'll change the camera angle just slightly. So we'll just run about, good 7 inches or so, probably same here. it, up along it. And we'll take these, and they cut off pretty clean, so a couple of stragglers. And we can kind of go ahead and put that aside. And cut these in half. And then on the inside of the mask, sorry, the outside of the mask, I keep getting that wrong. Just go ahead and apply a little glue around the eyes. And just start with the top. And just kind of place the fabric there. Same deal over here. And place the fabric. And once those have kind of cooled off a little bit, we'll take and catch the bottom and around the curve of the eye. There we go. Perfect. And again, around the curve and right up there to the edge of where we cut our hole for our eyeballs. And tack that down. And so there you have, it hides the eyes, but you can still see out of it, still see to walk around. After that, the next step is to cover the mask itself with a black cloth, a much more substantial black cloth. In this case, you will not be able to see through this if I hang it in front of the camera, and as soon as I find a free edge, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But,
Quick question.
yes, ma'am.
Do all the fabric first, then put the eyes through?
That's what I will do because they're going to sit on top of. So
So you'll have your original holes punched, but then you can punch through your fabric.
punch through the fabric, cut through the fabric, and by having the holes cut in the mask, then you can just take an X-Acto knife from the back and just go right through the fabric. And again, with the fabric, you even get by with just cutting a slit through the center of the hole, because you can then kind of push this in through the fabric, the slit in the fabric. So good question. So again, with the fabric itself, and it's a little bit see-through, but not nearly as much as the other fabric. And so I'll be honest with you, because we're friends here, right? That what I would do with all of this, but since I didn't think that the con was going to like me spray painting, I would have spray painted this black first. That just gives less work for the fabric to have to do in hiding the white of the mask. Same thing on the bottoms of the eyes. I would actually paint these bases black so that they kind of match the black that we're using for the fabric and whatnot. But those are the easy parts. I mean, you can put paint on things. That's pretty easy. The part that might be a mystery is, well, how does this all go together? How's it supposed to look? So that's what I'm trying to make sure that I provide, as far as this goes, is that kind of level of knowledge on the new things and the interesting things and the different things than maybe you've ever done before. So let's go ahead and clean up my cutting board just a little bit and keep an eye on my time. Oh, hey, it's 2:45, but we're almost there. I promise you, we're almost there. Oh, there we go. Let's not burn the fabric with the soldering iron. Put that over there, nice and out of the way. And since we're actually done with that, let me unplug that, let it cool down. There we go. And that way, when I go to put it away between sessions, it won't burn me. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is basically just cut, again, using the rotary cutter and not being particularly worried about the exact dimensions. This happens to be a foot. Actually, yeah, a foot. So I'm just simply going to cut along this edge here. Oh, hey, look, I found the hang me on the wall hole. So let me go ahead and go over that part again, this time on an actual cutting surface. There we go. And release the end. And then I've got a nice, actually let's go all the way to this fold because it makes a nice bit of length there. And then across on that fold, you know what? Let's give it a few more inches and I'll tell you why in a second. So across there, finish our cut there, and then made everything up at the corner. All right.
I feel like I need a rotary tool now after this weekend.
Don't you? Well, it turns out that one of the links that's already in the document is where to buy this rotary tool. So I promise I didn't put her up to that.
You didn't.
So the tricky bit on this is going to be kind of noting where the eyes are and cutting out the holes for those. In this case, I have completely managed to not bring a marking device with me, so I'm going to do this by, again, if you were going to do this for Rilsio, you might use a different tool, but I'll use this set of clippers here to at least kind of mark my dimensions. And I've got a pair of scissors in the bucket over there that I'll grab to cut out. If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. Should be a pair of white-handled scissors.
Over here?
In the big bucket, yes, please. And all right, so and there. All right, thank you. All right, so we've got that kind of marked off. I don't know if you can see the kind of the pinch points on the fabric. If not, I'll ask you to take my word that they are there. But all we're really going to do is just cut out kind of a rough oval, about the same size as the eye hole. There we go. And again, black on black is going to be our friend. It's going to keep us from really seeing too much of one thing in the other, and help us really kind of go with that illusion of a dark, cavernous kind of hood, mystery and intrigue. And oh, what are those things? They're Jawas, of course. So again, kind of set like that. So at this point, I would take a bit of hot glue and just kind of go around the edge of my eye over the top of the fabric I've already placed. And go ahead and set that real quick. Pat that into place, make it nice and smooth, like so. And then I would do a bit of glue up here at the top to secure the top edge of the fabric, like so. And then as we come down, again, smooth things, and I would want to smooth from the center actually, so go ahead and add some glue here kind of at the nose and at the mouth hole area, and then a couple of radiating lines out from the eye, and then lay my fabric down and smooth from the center and from the edge toward the, there we go. So we're, then looks like I need a little bonus dollop of glue right about here in the middle of everything. So do that. Again, kind of take advantage of the flexibility of the fabric to kind of smooth out and give us our, oh, there we go, glue it. So, and I can add even a little more dollop glue here to kind of keep that edge down, because I had an edge peeking up, and yeah, that glue's hot. So, ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Because I just touched it. So, and then from there, we would go ahead and we could cut our, and I'll do it on this side. We'll get our cutting block again, just so we're nice and elevated, and I've got a good handle on things. And we will, okay, get that set up as it's supposed to be. Take my knife, and I'll go ahead and cut the fabric a little bit. Cut the fabric a little bit. There, and there, and there. And I can do it a little inside the margins, because again, I'm not being too precise about things. because it's, again, doesn't really need a lot of precision in that regard. So, and I can see these marks even if you can't, but, so cut there, deepen up a little bit, and cut that part out, like that, and like that. So again, we've got a nice little rectangle there that we can then use to cut through. And actually, I'll just go ahead and cut the bottom of this cloth out of my way. Hi. And at that point, we can then take our completed eye, which, let's go ahead and go with the one that actually has wiring attached to it. Where did that go? Oh, good. It's my glasses all over again. I swear. It's right there. I swear if it had been a snake, I'd have been bit. So that would then, again, as we said, go through here and affix right there. We come in from the back with our, and actually what we want to do is route the wire in through, and that's a mistake I've made. Apologies. We'd either want to have this be detachable, or we'd want to run the wire first through the hole. Now in this case, I may be able to cheat slightly. Maybe not. But again, so what, well, no. I'm not really going to get around it. In this case, what I'm going to have to do, and problem solving, that's what we do. So I'm going to actually go ahead and cut a slightly longer line out of my access hole, but not really make it a block. What I want is something that I can just kind of coax this eye through from behind, like so. And then when I install it in place again, like so, into the hole, and there we go. So as you can see, we're right there, and I'll grab my little key and throw it in there. And real quick, hot glue that down. In this case, what I'm going to end up with is a mask that has the wires kind of running between the cloth and the mask, and that's not terrible. If I were paying a little more attention to the process, like I should have been, the wires would be completely inside the mask, and you would just basically run them to a point where you could kind of hide this either on, say, the strap or somewhere else around your head, or somewhere, so that you can turn it on and off as needed. But when you end up kind of done with all those steps, and we would, in this case, I would tack this down with the glue so that you couldn't really see the hole I cut. So, and that's the basics of the mask. Like I said, those are the particular techniques that it would take to put one together. That bit of cloth I left in the front, it was there for a specific reason, because when you wear the mask, you're going to probably want to tuck it into either the collar of your hood, or at least make sure that it's underneath the hood, the collar of your robe, sorry, or make sure it's under the hood ties. And by having that length underneath, and maybe even more, you kind of cover that chin and that neck region a little better. And so, I will say, only seeing out of one eye is a little freaky at this point. But
So if you had the wires on the inside of the mask, would the wires be sitting on your face?
It depends on how the mask fits on your face. The wires themselves are not terribly thick, so you're probably not going to notice it. If they were a higher gauge wire, it might be a bigger problem. And if that's the case, you could also run them, say, along the side here. In this case,
You did mention foam as well.
I might mention foam as an offset, something like that. You could actually line the whole thing with 1/8 inch craft foam if you wanted to make it a little softer on your face. You could also put a thicker foam, like even up to like maybe 1/2 inch, around the orbits of the eyes. Right here, where it kind of hits your eyebrow and your cheekbone, to push the mask away from your face a little bit, give you a little breathing room. Make sure there's little vent holes in there to kind of, because I will be honest with you, a Jawa is a hot costume. You're wearing a lot of fabric, and it doesn't breathe very well, and there's nowhere for that heat to go except up and into your hood. So,
Something that works really good on masks like that nowadays is they have, with VR goggles, they have inserts that go around the VR goggles that fit a face, so you can stick that insert against the mask. It keeps it away from your face.
and that's the solution we've used in the past for that, is that kind of VR goggle insert. So that's basically kind of the overall high points of where I wanted to get today. Are there any questions before we kind of switch gears and go into the next panel? Oh, sorry.